It is Election Day in America. Thank you for being with us this morning. Now, after a final push for votes, it's time for your voice to be heard, and the stakes could not be higher.
With Democrats holding a slight edge in the House and with a 50-50 split in the Senate, control of Congress is up for grabs. Leading candidates and party heavyweights spent the last full day of campaigning yesterday in a last-minute blitz to get out the vote. A new NBC News poll shows Democrats have pulled even with Republicans when it comes to voter interest. 73% of respondents from both parties say they are eager to cast their ballots. Republicans had a 9-point enthusiasm advantage just a month ago. And with razor-thin contests from coast to coast, it's all going to come down to turnout. And it's not just swing states like Pennsylvania that are seeing some contests that might be too close for comfort. President Biden actually spent part of Sunday in the Democratic stronghold of New York. Even though registered Democrats outnumber Republicans more than 2-1, the state's governor, Kathy Hochul, is facing a serious challenge from Republican Congressman Lee Zeldin. For more on this, we're joined by MSNBC anchor Lindsey Reiser, who's in Cold Spring, New York this morning. Lindsey, good to have you with us. So for a bit of context here, New York has not seen a Republican governor since George Pataki. That was nearly 2 decades ago. We know Republicans now really focusing on crime, the economy, to try and get through to voters. So is that what's behind this tight race between the two? Take us through how we got here.
Yeah, what a turn of events. Joe, good to be with you. It's about the issues that are mattering to voters. It's about the money that's being poured into some of these races. So let's focus on New York governor first. Kathy Hochul, Lee Zeldin. Kathy Hochul has been enjoying wide margins in this race until recently. In fact, in October, Quinnipiac poll only put her at 4 points above Zeldin. Her fundraising has been extraordinary, breaking a state record. She's pulled in nearly $49 million. But lately, Lee Zeldin has been getting a lot of help from Republican super PACs. He's endorsed by Trump, and his contributions of late have been just extraordinary. He's been hammering home on the airwaves crime, inflation. We do know crime numbers, even though felonies are down, homicides are down year to year. According to the NYPD, overall crime is up about 6%. That's mostly being driven by grand theft auto. And we know that a lot of people behind the scenes have been pushing Hochul to talk about what she's doing to reduce crime that people are feeling, especially in the city, talking about cameras on the subways, more law enforcement presence. But, Joe, as you mentioned, it would be an incredible turn of events here if that governor's mansion in Albany were to turn red, and certainly a race that's so close we're all going to be watching very closely today.
Yeah, and to be clear, Lindsey, it's not just Governor Hochul who's facing stiff competition in New York today. A top House Democrat is also locked in a very tight race of his own. Explain to us what's going on there.
Sean Patrick Maloney, he is right now the highest seated Democrat to be in a vulnerable seat. He was elected in 2012 to Congress. He's the head of the DCCC. He is in charge of that campaign arm, making sure that Democrats keep the House. But his own seat right now is vulnerable. New York Assemblyman Mike Lawler has proven to be a formidable opponent. At first, a lot of the fundraising that they were doing here was kind of considered a joke, but now it is really, he's really become a contender, again, focusing on crime, focusing on inflation, what people are spending at the grocery store. Sean Patrick Maloney has been talking about voting rights, reproductive rights, and he was on Meet the Press on Sunday with Chuck Todd, and he said he has to go out and fight every 2 years for this seat to earn it. It's not like in years past this has been a cakewalk for him, but this year there has been redistricting. He is introducing himself to a lot of constituents, and he'll be voting later today. We'll catch up with him, ask him a few questions, and also hopefully catch up with Lawler later today too, Joe.
I mean, so, Lindsey, just overall, what is it Democrats are saying about the fact that they are playing defense in what's historically a deep blue state? How much does that concern them?
So there's been a lot of talk behind the scenes of worries about, was there mixed messaging? Should they have focused earlier on inflation and crime as opposed to reproductive rights? Of course, when you ask people, again, Sean Patrick Maloney on Meet the Press saying, look, we don't know the results yet. We don't know if it's bad messaging or what's resonating with voters. But certainly, if you look at the fundraising, Joe, if you look at, you had mentioned President Biden coming here on that crucial weekend before the election to stump for Kathy Hochul and other Democrats here, it really shows how much these races are in play and the effects down ballot they could have as well. There are some competitive races in Long Island for Congress, and also a New York Assembly Democrats in danger of losing their veto-proof supermajority this race, Joe.
Lindsey Reiser following some surprisingly close races in New York. Lindsey, thanks.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.